in this class I'll be discussing change in supply. A change in supply is also known as a shift in supply curve. A change in supply could be an increase in supply or a decrease in supply. And this change in supply is caused by other factors that affect supply apart from the price of the commodity. When we are analyzing changes in the quantity supply, we assume is the only price of the commodity that is the main determinant of the change in the quantity supply. But for a change in supply, we assume the price is held constant. That is, the price does not affect the change in supply, but other factors that affect supply do. Okay, now let's illustrate an increase in supply. Let's say we have our initial supply curve. So quantity supply, this is the price. Let's say we have initial supply curve. We call it S1, S1. Okay, and let's say we have a particular price. We call it P, and at this price, you can see the corresponding quantity here, say Q1. Okay, now let's say there's an increase in supply. How can we have an increase in supply? One way of having an increase in supply, let's say there's a decrease in the cost of production, and this makes producer to produce more goods and therefore supply more. So because of that, there will be a shift in supply curve from S1 to the right. An increase in supply curve also implies a rightward shift in supply curve. So therefore we have a new supply curve toward the right. So we have S2, F2 at the old price. If you trace this to the new supply curve and trace the corresponding Q, so we can have Q2. If I call the initial point here A and this one B, so we can show this that there is an increase in supply. This arrow is pointing towards the right hand side, implying that there is a rightward shift in supply curve. You can see the effect is that the price remains constant, but the quantity supplies has increased. Summarily, an increase in supply implies a rightward shift in supply curve at the old price. That is when the price remains the same. When the price remains the same. Okay. Likewise, let's look at a decrease in supply. A decrease in supply. Similarly, we are going to have the same curve. We have the price. We have quantity supply here. So this is the origin. Let's say we have initial supply curve S1, S1. Okay. Now, let's say we have a particular price and we can trace the corresponding quantity. Let's call it Q1. Now, let's say there's a decrease in supply. And one factor that can cause a decrease in supply, we can also use that cost of production. Let's say there is an increase in cost of production. And this makes a producer to reduce production level. Therefore, the supply reduces. In other words, there will be a netward shift in supply curve in order to indicate that supply has reduced. So we have netward shift in supply curve. Let's say S2, S2. Okay. Now we can trace this. You can see you can use the arrow to indicate a netward shift. That is a decrease. Okay. Now we have this. If I call this point A, okay. Now, where this old price line, where this dotted line touches the new supply curve, I call this B. Okay, if I trace it down, I have Q2. Okay, you can see that the quantity supplied are reduced. Okay, while the price are stayed the same. Meaning that when there is a leftward shift in supply curve, there is a decrease in supply. Okay, it implies that despite the fact that the price has not changed, the quantity supplied has reduced. Okay. Likewise, we can also indicate this arrow here.